Everything begins with a knock at the door. Soft, ordinary, like someone just stopping by to ask a quick question. In Northern Ireland, people are used to opening the door and exchanging a few words, sometimes about football, sometimes about neighbors. And that familiarity is exactly what makes you let your guard down. When the door cracks open, two men in police uniforms stand there, calm voices, steady eyes. They say there has been a family accident, that he needs to come with them to identify a body. No one wants to doubt news like that. No one thinks tragedy can be a trap. The moment he steps over the threshold, a gun is pressed cold against the back of his head. In one breath, he understands that the most precious thing in his life, the people he loves, are being used as the stake. Tonight will not be peaceful. It will be 24 hours of hell. And when morning comes, two controlled human beings will walk into a bank, smile as if nothing happened, and £26.5 million will vanish. No alarm will sound. Nearly 2 decades pass, and the money is still missing. How did they turn victims into living keys? In West Belfast, that evening passes like any other. In the living room, warm yellow light rests on every face, quiet and safe. The television shows a match, the commentator rising and falling, cheers bursting and fading with every play. Chris Ward sits beside his father. His mother pours more tea and sets a few small cakes on the table. His older brother leans back in the chair, and Chris's girlfriend tucks her legs on the sofa, watching and teasing him whenever Celtic are pushed back. Outside, Christmas lights already hang on the street, that glittering glow that makes people believe the end of the year will be gentle. On the shelf lies a green and white scarf, the one Chris throws around his neck whenever he goes to the small pub near home to watch the game, like a promise that everything is fine, that tomorrow will arrive. For Chris, Celtic is not just a club, it is pride, a conversation starter, a community he has belonged to for a long time. He is active in the supporters group, used to people dropping by to ask about tickets, event schedules, places to gather and watch the match. In neighborhoods like West Belfast, football is a thread that ties people together, so a nod on the street can feel like friendship. If someone says the right word, Celtic, you feel them move one step closer. So when the knock comes, Chris stands up naturally, a reflex built by years of trust. He opens the door and sees a man standing there, friendly face, familiar voice. The man smiles, says Celtic, says he has come to ask about the club. That is all it takes for Chris's defenses to drop. He shifts his body, opens the door wider, and that moment alone is enough to push his life onto a different path. Sometimes a life does not break from something huge. It breaks from 1 second of trust, 1 second of believing you are surrounded by what is familiar. Just 1 second is enough for everything to be taken. Behind him are the sounds of the ball on the television, the smell of his mother's hot tea, the people he believes he is protecting. Chris does not know that one nod, one open door, will turn that warm home into the beginning of a nightmare. The door opens a little wider, and before Chris can fully invite the man in, he feels something wrong, a chill sliding along the back of his neck. In that instant, two shadows slip in from the edge of the light, fast and quiet, as if rehearsed. 3 men. No need for chatter, no need for noise. In 1 second, friendliness disappears and is replaced by something so cold it stings. Guns appear from jackets, dark and compact, and the room tightens. One barrel points into the living room. Another sweeps across the stunned faces on the sofa. Chris's father rises by instinct, but is immediately signaled to sit. His mother lifts a hand to her mouth, as if even her breathing might make something worse. Chris's girlfriend freezes, eyes wide, fingers digging into the sofa edge. The television keeps playing, the commentator keeps talking, but to them it all sounds like it comes from another world, distant and useless. The man who was smiling now looks at Chris with empty eyes. His voice is low and firm, not rushed, like someone reading a checklist. Chris, we did not come here for football. We came for your job. We know everything about you. He says Chris's full name, his address, his work schedule, details only family should remember. Each line is a thin blade cutting away the last feeling of safety. Chris swallows, his throat dry like sand. He looks at his father, his mother, his brother, the girl he loves, trembling with fear. And in that moment, he understands a brutal truth that makes you grow up in a second. He is no longer a bank employee, no longer a football supporter. He is only a son trying to keep his family alive. The gunman steps closer. The barrel so near Chris can feel the metals chill. The voice stays calm, and that calm is what terrifies. We will hold you for 24 hours. Your family stays here. You do it right. They live. You make one mistake, they die. Simple as that. Chris wants to ask why, wants to scream, wants to lunge, but his hands feel nailed in place. Any resistance is a test his family cannot afford. He stands there hearing his heartbeat pounding in his ears, hearing his mother's broken breathing, hearing the sofa creak as his father forces himself not to shake. He sees his father's eyes on him, not blame, but pleading. He sees his mother's eyes wet, as if begging him not to do anything reckless. He sees his girlfriend trying to swallow a sob, and inside that suffocating silence, Chris has only one choice, the choice of someone who loves. The man tilts his head and gives a short command, leaving no time to think. Get your uniform, right now, then get to the car. No talking, move. Chris changes into his uniform like a machine, the jacket pulled up to his throat, sleeves straightened, familiar movements of a man who goes to work every day. But today, it feels like dressing a different version of himself, a version locked inside fear. He cannot look at the living room for long, because every time his eyes touch his mother, his father, his brother, the woman he loves, his heart tightens. He is afraid that if he looks one more second, he will not be able to step out. And if he does not step out, they will pay. When Chris is led outside, the night wind slaps his face, cold as punishment. On the street, everything is normal in the most cruel way. Streetlights glow dull yellow. Some houses are still lit. Somewhere, a television murmurs from another living room. Somewhere, people are laughing, arguing about the match. And Chris is crossing an invisible line, where familiar sounds become foreign. A car is waiting right in front, engine humming, back door cracked open like a mouth. Chris is forced in and made to lie flat on the floor behind the driver's seat. The carpet is cold and hard, smelling of damp and dust. He tries to breathe quietly. In front, the driver sits straight, silent like stone. One hand on the wheel, the other holding a gun, not hidden at all. No greeting, no extra warning. That silence is what drives you mad, because it says everything is decided, that resisting is useless. The car rolls forward. Tires scrape the road with a dry sound, like time being dragged. Through a narrow gap, Chris sees lights falling back and sinking into darkness. Every meter the car moves, he feels as if part of his soul is being left behind at the house. He imagines his mother sitting there, his father trying to look strong, his brother bound, his girlfriend crying, and a thought pierces like a needle. If they do something to his family, he will not know, he will not see, he will not hear. He will only be a name, a number, a tool moving through the night. That is the severing point. The moment you understand your life no longer belongs to you. The darkness outside the window swallows streets, swallows peaceful routines, swallows the safety Chris once thought was automatic. In that car, he realizes the greatest fear is not dying. The greatest fear is living without knowing. Not knowing what your family is enduring, not knowing whether their breathing still exists. And when you do not know, your imagination becomes the most ruthless torturer of all. At the same time, on the other side of the city, another home is still wrapped in ordinary peace. Kevin McMullen and his wife, Karen, sit in the living room, tea steaming, a television show playing steadily like background noise on a late-year evening. In homes like that, people talk about tomorrow's work, what to buy for Christmas, how cold it is, or they simply sit together without needing words. Karen pours more tea for Kevin and sets the cup down softly. Kevin leans back, letting go after a long day. There is no sign, no warning, that in one more minute everything will snap like dry wood. Then the knock comes. Kevin stands up naturally, because in quiet neighborhoods, a knock is usually a neighbor, a delivery, someone familiar passing by. He opens the door and sees two men in PSNI uniforms. Neat clothing, steady posture, serious faces. One holds a clipboard, and on the paper are Kevin and Karen's names, clearly written. That detail alone is enough to make an ordinary person believe, because it feels official, procedural, real. Their voices are calm, not hurried, like they are delivering sad but necessary news. There has been an accident involving your family. You need to come with us to identify the body. No one is prepared to hear a sentence like that. Hearing it alone makes your stomach sink, your heart tighten. Kevin is caught off guard, his mind racing in seconds. He thinks of relatives, imagines the worst, thinks he must do the right thing quickly. Behind him, Karen asks softly, "What is it?" Kevin turns and reassures her with a quick nod, as if he will step outside for a moment and come back. He steps over the threshold, and in that instant, the mask drops. One of the men pulls a gun and presses it into the back of Kevin's head. No buffer, no time to understand, only the cold truth of metal against skin. Inside, Karen has not even reached him when an arm locks around her throat and yanks her down. Air is cut off, her cry stuck in her throat. She claws at the attacker's hand, but the grip tightens. In panic, Karen sees a third man enter, the final piece of a cruel picture. 3 men, each in position, each movement on time, no extra, no waste. And that precision chills the blood because it proves this is not a spontaneous gamble. This is a scripted kidnapping. A plan written and rehearsed, now unfolding inside the house they once believed was the safest place in the world. Karen is dragged down the hallway like an object, feet sliding on the floor, breath breaking as fear keeps rising. Kevin is pinned to the wall, a gun behind him, forced to face away, but he still twists to look with the corner of his eye. The desperate reflex of a husband. He wants to call her name, to rush in, to pull her back. But every movement is locked by fear. Not fear for himself, but for the woman being crushed in front of him. One of them says Karen will be moved elsewhere. He promises someone will take care of her, another woman, as if it is comfort, but his voice is flat, cold, without a trace of mercy. People like that do not comfort you to calm you, they comfort you to control you. They force Karen to sit. A roll of tape appears, the ripping sound sharp like a blade. Before she understands, hands clamp her head. Tape goes over her eyes, layer on layer, sealed until no light remains. Not a blindfold, but a lock. Karen trembles, tries to turn away, but the more she struggles, the tighter they hold. In that moment, she is no longer a person with a name. She is cargo. Kevin hears the tape, hears Karen's frantic breathing, and something inside him breaks. It breaks without sound, but it leaves him choking. He knows from this second on, Karen can be taken anywhere. And the cruelest part is he will not know. He will live inside his own worst stories. They drag Karen outside. The cold air bites. A car door opens. A body is shoved into a seat. Then the door slams like a final period. Kevin watches, helpless. The engine starts. Red taillights paint a smear on the wall, then vanish into night. Karen is gone. The house remains, but safety is gone forever. Later, Kevin is moved as well. Somewhere else, Chris is already held, hands tied, mind spinning with dread for his family. When both men are forced into the same room, they look at each other like mirrors. No questions needed. The eyes say everything. Both are being strangled by an invisible threat. Only one man speaks. He holds a large knife, its blade catching the cold light. The others barely talk, communicating with small sounds, a short whistle, a tongue click, coins jingling in a pocket. Those tiny noises make the air even heavier, as if violence is standing behind them without showing its face. The knife man looks straight at Kevin and Chris and speaks slowly, each word falling like stone. You have a simple choice. Cooperate and your families live. Do not cooperate and they die. One mistake and they die. Do not test us. He pauses long enough for them to feel their hearts squeeze tighter. We are robbing Northern Bank, and you are going to help us. In that moment, Kevin understands everything. This is not a small-time robbery, not a desperate crew chasing a few $100,000. This is an operation. Planned, disciplined, informed, prepared. And the most frightening thing is not that it targets money, it targets people. It turns love into a noose and turns two ordinary men into tools that unlock a massive crime. In Northern Ireland, this kind of kidnapping is not just something people hear in movies. It has a chilling name: tiger kidnapping. The method is simple, but so ruthless there is almost no way out. Step 1. They take what you love most: a wife, children, parents. Step 2. They do not demand ransom directly. They force you to commit another crime for them. You are no longer a victim in the usual way. You become the criminal's arm, forced to open the door into hell while your loved ones are held like a switch. Northern Bank understood the risk. They tried to build one more layer of safety, another door before the vault. The main vault cannot be opened by one person. It requires two keys, held by two different people. Both must be present. Both must act. A reminder that no one enters alone. No one decides alone. In theory, it is smart. If one person is threatened, the other can raise the alarm. If one person is tempted, the other is the barrier. But real life does not follow theory. Real life has dark corners that criminals understand better than good people. The kidnappers did not choose randomly. They did not target one key. They targeted both. They locked both keys using both families. And the cruel irony is that week, the key holders were Chris and Kevin, as if everything had been set in place, waiting for them to stand in the right positions. Then they introduced something even more dangerous than a gun. Two phones, one marked C, one marked K. C for Chris, K for Kevin. No contacts, no messages, nothing to hold on to, only one number stored, like a rope around the neck. The knife man speaks clearly, still calm like he is assigning tasks. Keep it on. Do not turn it off. Do not let it die. Do not do anything that prevents us from reaching you. In that moment, Chris and Kevin understand something else. The plan will not be fully spoken now. It will be released step by step, like tightening a noose. Once they are inside the bank, one deviation, one suspicious glance, one instinct to ask for help, and the phone will ring, and on the other end will be a reminder of what they are trading. This is not just stealing money. This is control. And from now on, the plan will arrive through calls, timestamps, short commands, step by step, until every door is opened by their own hands. The next morning, the city wakes up as usual. Cold air turns breath to smoke. People hurry to work. Cars roll through familiar streets. For most, it is just a busy end-of-year day. For Chris and Kevin, it is the day they must walk into work like walking onto a stage, forced to play normal to save the people they love. They enter the bank wearing faces they practiced. Chris nods to the guard. Kevin gives a light smile to coworkers. The usual small talk comes out. Good morning. Busy day, Christmas is close. And that normalcy is the sharpest pain, because inside them everything is screaming. Chris's heart pounds so hard he feels others might hear it. His hands are icy, though the room is warm. Every time someone looks one beat too long, he thinks they know. Every office phone ring makes him flinch like a wound has been touched. Kevin holds the confident posture of a manager, but in his chest, fear is a stone dragging him down. He is not afraid of being arrested. He is afraid that one tiny mistake will kill Karen. Afraid Chris's family will pay. Afraid the people back home, in the kidnapper's hands, are counting minutes the same way. In their pockets are the two phones with the single number. They are not just devices, they are chains. Reminders that they are still held by the throat even while standing among people. According to the plan, they must make 3 checkpoint calls that day. 3 calls, like 3 roll calls of obedience. The first to confirm they are in the bank, playing their parts. The second to prove they have not raised the alarm, have not asked for help, have not done anything but comply. The third, close to action time, is the one that steals their breath. Because each time they hear that voice, they see one clear truth. Their families are still being held. Their lives still sit in someone else's hands. And time is sliding toward a point of no return. Between calls, Chris and Kevin sit together like 2 men discussing work. They lower their heads over papers, pretend to talk. But really, they are checking each other, asking silently if the other is breaking. There is a moment Chris wants to say one sentence, just one, to signal for help, to blink at a guard, to leave a clue. Then he remembers the cold sentence from the night before. One wrong step and they die. That fear pulls his hand back, like an invisible palm on his shoulder, forcing him to sit still. Near late afternoon, Kevin stands and speaks to staff with the steady voice of a manager handling a routine issue. There is a balance problem. Chris and I need to recount everything. You can go home. No one suspects. Recounting is normal. People pack up, say goodbye, doors close, footsteps thin out. The building exhales its crowd and leaves a frightening emptiness. Only a couple security staff, a few machine sounds, and two men trying to keep their breathing steady. Chris watches the clock. The minute hand moves like a slow torture. Kevin watches too, then watches the phone. Neither says it, but both understand the moment is coming. The moment when they stop being employees and become living keys forced to turn. And then, exactly at 5 in the evening, when time touches the point that was set for them, there is no choice left. They have to begin. They go down into the basement like men entering a forbidden place. A long corridor under pale fluorescent light, footsteps echoing with a hollow sound. Above, the city still lives. Down here there is only silence and a heavy steel door like fate. Northern Bank's vault does not open with one action. It opens with forced agreement. 2 keys, 2 people. Chris pulls his key, Kevin pulls his key. As they fit them into the locks, both understand the thing designed to protect the bank is now the thing that traps them. If there were only one key, maybe one man would break the rules to save his home. But with both keys held hostage through families, the lock almost opens itself. The door releases with a heavy sound, metal groaning. Inside, money does not appear like a few stacks. It appears like walls, like fortifications built from denominations. Fresh bundles and boxes, old piles stacked high, crates of euros and dollars. Light hits the paper and throws back a cold shine, beautiful and terrifying. Beautiful because it is money. Terrifying because it can buy too much, including human cruelty. Chris hears his heart beating in his ears, so loud he fears even the cameras can hear it. Kevin says nothing, only scans the room like a man checking for exits. But their exit is not a door, it is obedience. The kidnappers know the blind spots. There is a place where cameras cannot see clearly if you stand just right. Kevin leads Chris there. They open the bag the gang provided. An ordinary-looking duffel, but to them, it is a mouth waiting to swallow conscience. They begin stuffing money inside. Large notes, crisp paper, the scent of ink. Bundles tap against each other, a soft thud like a countdown. Chris stuffs and trembles. Not from cold, but from fear. Kevin watches the clock. 15 minutes. 15 minutes to turn 1 million pounds into weight on a shoulder, and to turn 2 bank workers into couriers for thieves. When the bag swells so tight the zipper seems ready to burst, Chris slings it over his shoulder. The weight drags him down, but heavier still is shame and helplessness. He walks out of the vault, through corridors he normally walks as an employee. Today, he walks like a man carrying his family's lives. Chris leaves the bank without looking around, without daring to meet anyone's eyes. The afternoon is cold and gray. He walks to the bus stop like he is programmed, sets the bag down exactly where he was told, and waits. Time shrinks into seconds. He hears cars passing, wind cutting through, even the blood moving in his head. A few minutes later, a man appears. No expression, no hurry, like someone collecting something that was placed for him. He bends, lifts the bag, and walks away. Not a word, not a glance, not a signal, just one clean motion. Chris returns to the bank, nearly ready to cry because he wants to believe this is the end, that the gang will keep their word, that his family will be released, that Karen will come back, that the nightmare will end after he raises the alarm. Then the phone in his pocket vibrates. A small vibration, enough to make his stomach drop. He stops, hand turning cold. He answers. The voice is calm, like praising an employee for following procedure. Good. You did exactly right. Chris swallows, waiting for the next words, praying they are. It is over. Go home. But the voice continues slowly and clearly, like placing a stone on his chest. Now go back. Take more. Chris freezes. "How much?" he asks, almost without breath. A short silence, then the answer falls, cold and absolute. Everything. Chris ends the call with his hand still shaking. It feels like he has stumbled, but he is not allowed to sit. Kevin looks into Chris's eyes, and one look is enough. Not finished. Never just one round. The plan is wider, deeper, colder than they thought. The kidnappers have calculated how to move money out without loud violence. In the bank system, each cash box has a seal. Color is not just color, it is meaning. A proper metal seal means real money. A white seal, by convention, can mean boxes of waste paper, paper to be destroyed, rubbish for disposal. A small detail like seal color can turn millions into something that exits the back door legally. Kevin and Chris return to the vault. Green boxes stand in neat rows, heavy like blocks of sin. They follow instructions, swap seals, turn money into rubbish with a single move. Kevin understands the disguise, and because he understands it, he feels even more ashamed. Security is built on procedure, and procedure can be bent by one symbol. There are 24 boxes. That number is not just boxes. It is time, labor, the sweat of a country rushing toward Christmas. Now it sits in the hands of men who did not sweat at all. They only found the crack. They load boxes onto trolleys. Wheels squeal softly on the floor. Each squeal scrapes their nerves. They push the trolleys out of the vault, down bright corridors, past the control room where dozens of monitors watch every angle. Passing those screens is the deepest humiliation. Two bankmen pushing the bank's wealth out like clearing storage. Behind glass, monitors flicker, cameras stare down. Everything is being watched. But watching is not stopping. Watching is only looking. And today, the system can only look while the people inside carry money to the door. Kevin knows that to move this through Bullion Bay, the rear exit, they must open the way. Not with force, but with authority. Kevin walks into the security room where the guard sits at the controls. He speaks in the most ordinary voice he can summon, the voice of a manager assigning end-of-day work. "A waste paper van is coming. Open the back gate for me." The guard nods. No suspicion, because it is Kevin, his boss, a man with the power to order. In places like this, people are trained to trust authority. Kevin hears the button press, hears the mechanical gate opening, and inside he feels as if a steel wire is being pulled. He has just used his position to open a door for crime. They push into Bullion Bay. The air is freezing, the damp smell of the rear alley, metal, and engine oil. Kevin calls as instructed. The voice answers with one short line. "Good. Bring the van in." 15 minutes later, the white van appears, reversing into place like rehearsed. Reverse lights blink. Tires thump. The back doors swing open. Two men jump out. And what terrifies and humiliates Chris and Kevin is that the men do not rush like robbers. They move like couriers. Calm, efficient, as if this is a legitimate pickup. As if they have documents, a schedule, a right to be here. In front of the security system, in front of the gate Kevin opened with his own order. They lift each green box into the van. One box, two boxes, all boxes. No shouting, no gunfire, no running. Only money leaving through the door meant for rubbish. In that moment, Chris looks at the cameras on the wall, the security lights, the guard standing there, and feels shame pressing on his chest. Not because he is a thief, but because he is witnessing something even more frightening. A robbery that can happen like administrative paperwork, quiet, clean, and brutally public. When the van doors close and the white vehicle rolls out of Bullion Bay, Chris and Kevin stand still for a few seconds like two men watching part of their souls get dragged away. They think it is the end. They did it right. They moved the money out. They swallowed shame, swallowed fear, swallowed the instinct to resist, all to buy their families' lives. In their heads, one sentence repeats, "It is over. Please, let it be over." But nightmares do not end when humans feel they should. They end when the controller decides. The phone vibrates again, light but enough to tighten their stomachs. The voice is calm and hateful. "Not finished. Go back. Take more." This time, there are no green boxes, no white seals, No polite disguise. Only money, raw and messy, like the vault's insides torn out. Chris and Kevin rush back into the vault. White light makes their faces pale. They open compartments of old notes, bundles that have passed through countless hands, mixed denominations, euros with pounds, even dollars. No order, no fresh cleanliness, just a heavy, thick mess of paper smelling of old ink. The kidnappers want it all stuffed into large black bags. The bags are thrown at them like they are laborers. Chris bends and stuffs fistfuls of money. Fast, deep, until his wrists ache. Kevin pours notes into the bags like trying to put out fire. They do not dare stop. They do not dare look at each other for long. If one breaks, the other breaks. And what runs fastest in their minds is not the plan but family. Chris's mother with a gun in the living room. Karen with tape sealed over her eyes in a car racing into the woods. The breath of the people they love, thin like a thread. When the bags are full, they tie them, zip them, place them into a rolling cage. And now fear becomes a different kind, tight and sharp like a stretched wire. In stage 2, they could say it was waste paper. Now these bulging black bags cannot be rubbish. One curious glance, one question, one step closer from the guard, and everything collapses. Not onto them, onto their families. Kevin pushes the cage through the corridor, past the surveillance area, toward Bullion Bay. The guard stands there like a final door. Chris walks beside him, forcing his face to stay normal, forcing his hands not to shake. They hear the wheels rolling, hear their hearts pounding, hear their own swallowing. The guard looks at them, looks at the cage, looks toward the gate. Kevin says one short line, trying to make it sound like routine. "Open the gate for me. The van is here." The guard nods. He does not step closer. He does not ask. He does not look carefully. Maybe he trusts Kevin. Maybe he wants to go home. Maybe no one can believe the biggest robbery in history can happen in front of them in silence. The van returns. Doors open. The two men jump out again. Cold, efficient, like finishing the last pickup of the day. They lift the black bags into the van. Every bag lifted makes Chris's heart stab. Every bag disappearing into the vehicle makes Kevin feel like he is nailing his own reputation shut. Then it ends with a sentence without emotion, like signing a delivery note. "That is it. You did right. Go inside, raise the alarm, then go home. Raise the alarm, go home." No apology, no thanks. No promise of immediate release. Only a final order, as if they are still employees under command. Chris and Kevin stand for seconds like shadows drained of life. Then they go back in and do the last step. Raise the alarm. Report something wrong. Keep acting like innocent men, even as their hands still remember money and their minds still hang on a life or death thread. When they step outside the bank, the sky is fully dark. Cold wind lashes their faces, reminding them the world keeps moving. Only they are stuck. They get into the car and sit without words. Chris stares through the windshield and cannot see the road. Kevin grips the wheel and cannot feel his hands. They drive like sleepwalkers. Not to escape, not to run, to go home. And the whole way, one prayer repeats inside their heads, like a night chant. Please, let them still be alive. Sirens arrive, blue and red light washing over the cold walls of the alley behind the bank. In minutes, the quiet place becomes a hotspot. Tape goes up, people rush. Radios crackle like a city heartbeat. Then the vault is opened for inspection and everyone freezes. 26.5 million pounds is gone. Not gone by smashing glass or drilling locks. Gone like something transferred by procedure. No alarm sounded at the right time. No one fell. No gunshot. Only an enormous emptiness in the vault and a heavy question. How can so much money leave a bank with almost no trace? The investigation explodes. They hunt the white van. They review cameras. They check every entrance, every roster, every call. And like a reflex in every major case, suspicion goes straight to one phrase: insider. Because with a plan this precise, someone must know the bank from within. Someone must know blind spots. Seal rules. Bullion Bay. The quietest hour. Then arrests. Searches. Raids. Homes are turned upside down. Names appear in headlines. Public eyes turn cold, as if everyone wants a face to blame, a name to close the fear. Chris and Kevin, from victims forced to obey, become suspected men. They must live not only with hostage memories, but with the public question, were you involved? But the investigation drags on, and the one thing that never arrives is evidence. No fingerprints, no clear calls, no unusual money flows, no strong rope to tie the masterminds. They catch small leads, suspects for laundering, but the larger picture stays empty. The more they dig, the more it feels like digging fog. Meanwhile, the two families are found physically safe. They survived. But surviving is not the same as returning. Some nights Karen jolts awake at a small sound. Some evenings, one knock is enough to tighten a heart. Some moments people sit in their own living room and still feel watched. Psychological trauma has no bright color, but it quietly eats the sense of safety that once felt automatic. And years pass. The case remains open. The money remains missing. The robbers remain invisible, as if they never existed. The Northern Bank robbery becomes a scar in the memory of the region, not only because of money, but because it proves how fragile humans are when family is placed on the scale. Now comes the final question, and the most haunting one. If it were you, would you obey to save your family? Leave a comment. I want to know your choice in a moment with no way back. And if you want more chilling crime stories like this, like and subscribe, because some crimes do not end when police arrive. They only end when someone finally speaks the truth.